Hey there, my name is Alex, I am the Silver Mont, and this is my review of Monster Hunter Stories 2 Wings of Ruin, played on PC via Steam. This is not a sponsored review. I bought the game with my own money because I am a fan of Monster Hunter. That out of the way, let's get started. What is Monster Hunter Stories? Well, it's a Monster Hunter spin-off that is essentially Pokemon, if Pokemon games had any effort put into them. Monster Hunter Stories 2 is a sequel to a game that I don't think too many people heard of or had much interest in, and you don't have to have played it to get the full experience here, thankfully. Although characters from that game will show up here and there. Stories had a very cutesy or chibi art style. Whilst the second game retains this to an extent, you can tell they're aiming for a slightly older or just more global appeal and audience here. Characters are still extremely stylized, but less chibi than before, capitalizing on the enormous success of Monster Hunter World and Iceborne and the franchise's new, tremendously expanded audience. Stories aims for that far-reaching appeal. You'll create a character and then soon set off on a 50 to 60 hour journey that sees you exploring a decently sized world, whilst you uncover the mystery of the Wings of Ruin. This quest will take you through 6 distinct areas that are suitably video gamey: island area, forest area, snow area, desert area, volcano area, and so on. Each has its own village or city acting as a quest hub. Whilst they are pleasant enough and have that appealing Monster Hunter feel and aesthetic, you can definitely tell this isn't a AAA release. Each map has dungeon areas broken off from it, referred to as dens typically. These are widely recycled in various configurations that are either random or semi-randomly generated each time you enter one, so you'll be seeing the same map layouts time and time again. That, along with the rather weak technical presentation, are the main budgetary issues I noticed here. But you also have to remember this is a game that's running on the Switch too, so obviously we're not going to have envelope pushing graphics, and that's fine. The cartoony style allows you to overlook some low-res textures. The large expressive faces make up for the lack of polygons, and honestly it means I don't have to look at the handler's horrific face, so I'm fine with that. So, as you make your way through these areas, you can touch monsters on the field to engage in the game's turn-based combat. Get them from behind and you'll get a free turn at the start. Likewise, if they chase you down and touch you from behind, they'll get a free turn at the start. The game's combat, whilst turn-based, has a few things to shake it up. In a nutshell, it works on a rock, paper, scissors system. Power beats tech, tech beats speed, speed beats power. You only directly control your hunter. Your monster and active party members will do what they think is best, although you can issue commands to your monster. Let's say the enemy is using a power attack and you use speed. You'll have a head-to-head, and in this case, you'll win. Knowing what monsters will do comes down to knowledge or guesswork. Monsters will also shake it up now and then, such as when they get enraged or enter various other special states. If you and your monster are both using speed against a power attack, for example, you'll get a double attack, because speed beats power. On top of this, you also have the game's weapon system: blunt, piercing, and slashing. Weapons will do more damage to enemy parts that are weak to that corresponding weapon type. Breaking these parts can increase your score and disable certain enemy attacks. You're able to swap weapons once per turn, and it doesn't consume your turn. Likewise, you can swap your active monster once per turn. That also doesn't consume it. Each of the various weapons you can equip, and you can bring up to 3, has its own special thing going for it. The hammer is a little harder to build charge for, but can deliver astonishing damage to monster parts when it is charged. Whereas the bow is able to charge up attacks to hit twice in one turn. Aside from those, you can have sword and shield, greatsword, gun lance, and hunting horn. 2 weapons per category of slashing, piercing, and blunt. Hopefully we'll get more weapons in the future too. Just with other Monster Hunter games, defeating enemies gets you parts that allow you to craft new weapons and armor based on that monster's parts. And these armors are equipped with skills to boost your stats in combat or on the field. The final noteworthy aspect of combat would be the kinship. As you attack with your monster, you will build kinship. Build it high enough and you can ride your monster, which enables you to deliver your ultimate attack. These range from hilarious to awesome, and every monster has its own one. But how about these monsters? The star of the show, surely. Well, there's only around 80 monsters that are playable, in the sense that you can use them in your party and hatch them from eggs. There's 120 monsters in the game, but 81 of those are playable. To get a monster, you need to acquire their egg, which you then hatch. So, to be precise, that's 81 hatchable monsters at the moment. Keep in mind, there are variants of monsters too, such as Tigrex and Brute Tigrex. I haven't counted how many unique monsters there are, but it's probably in the vicinity of around 50, as there's a lot of variants. Whilst you might think it's a small number compared to, say, well, even the first Pokemon game, which had, what, 121? I don't think it's a huge issue, as it feels like there's a lot and a good variety. Would I like to see more? Of course, but whereas in recent Pokemon games I kinda struggle to fill out 6 slots of a party with Pokemon I like, in this game there were far too many I liked. It's bringing some of the best the Monster Hunter franchise has to offer, and it avoids the problem I had with Monster Hunter World, wherein, especially at endgame, it just turned into Elder Dragons everywhere, just fight the same 3 Elder Dragons again and again and again. Even starting monsters can be pretty viable in stories. It doesn't feel like you're punished for using your favourite, which is due in part to the gene system. As mentioned, you need eggs to get monsters. These are acquired from dens. When you pick up an egg, you'll infrequently find glowing ones. The stronger the glow, the better the egg. It's like a gacha system. So if you've played any gacha game, you'll no doubt know that rainbow glow means good. Heavier eggs are rarer or more elite monsters, whilst the stronger smelling eggs have superior genes. Once your egg hatches, you'll see what it is and what stats it has. You could hatch 2 Tobikadachi, but one might have a lot more base attack, thanks to being a rarer version. Then you have the genes. This is a grid-based bingo system wherein each slot is a perk or ability. If you line up 3 of the same type, you'll get a bonus. Tobikadachi is a speed type electric element monster, so you'll mostly see yellow genes, right? Yellow for electric. Well, you could, if you wanted, replace every single gene with a red fire gene. This allows you some nice freedom in building the monster you want. I stuck Plasma Blaster on my Toby. Now he shoots out laser beams from his mouth. Incidentally, Tobikadachi is one of my favourite monsters, so of course I'm using him. Only problem is, pretty much every monster I like turns out to be electric. Because of the gene system, however, it means I can turn my Lagiacrus into a water type and my Astalos into a dragon type. It's a cool system, but it's not a crucial one. You can play through the entire game and ignore it if you like. Editing genes is done by effectively squashing a monster into another monster. If I found an Anjanath with a really nice gene, I can squash him into my Rathalos. Rathalos will inherit that gene. Anjanath will basically die and be removed. All the other genes will vanish beyond the selected one. The game says you're releasing the monster, but let's be real, you're practicing some weird form of eugenics. Overall, the game's a fun little adventure, but I have some issues with it. First up, whilst the story is fairly standard, obviously made for quite young audiences, which is fine, I do take some issue with how dumb the main character is. Not a huge criticism of the game, just frustrating to watch the player character be so clueless at times. Then there's the multiplayer, which the game includes, but only up to 2 players. Unless you're doing the PvP, which I'll admit I have zero interest in and I'm not even gonna attempt. Unfortunately, whilst multiplayer has been a huge part of Monster Hunter for years, it's a little underutilized in my opinion in stories too. Until you beat the main game, you won't really have much multiplayer to do. It doesn't even unlock until 5 or 10 hours into the game, whilst you have 1 or 2 missions to do at that point. Once you get into endgame, there'll be more that you can do. But I would have liked it more spread out, and considering most of the game has you accompanied with another rider or hunter, I feel like the whole game could have been done co-op without too much trouble. But, alas. Mostly, I'd like to see more multiplayer put in. This is a spin-off, so It's fair that they made one that's not so multiplayer centric this time around. There's various quality of life complaints to make too, such as menu and user interface issues, quests not having a great option to sort through them, items sometimes not registering when you spam the pickup button, which will be doing a lot. Small things like that, which are easily fixable via patches. In general though, I think this is a fun little game. If you like Monster Hunter or Pokemon, then I think it's worth picking up. The price tag at full price is reasonable to me given the fairly substantial campaign and post-game content. Capcom are also planning several DLCs over the coming months, which most of them seem to be free, it would appear. Alas, I have a long time to wait before Silver Rathalos. Still, it's an enjoyable game, and it'll help tide me over until Monster Hunter Rise releases on the PC next year. The game is available on Switch and PC currently. I could definitely see it working on mobile as well, so I won't be surprised if that shows up at some point in the future. I hope this review was useful or entertaining, and if you have any questions that I didn't cover here, ask them down below in the comments and I will get back to you ASAP. Until next time, thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.